Can you tell me where it's being live streamed so I can share the links? A lot of people are asking me where they could watch this.
I'll give you the live stream. It's a little bit restricted because it's a government this thing, but still I'll give you the live
I see what you mean.
So let me just send you.
Can you tell me?
No. That's what I'm giving you. Just give me a few seconds. I'm just sending in the chat.
Yes, because somebody asked me on LinkedIn and he's watching to see if he could get it. I wasn't sure if you were making it available or not.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Nazarene, your video just turned around, which is interesting. Oh, you're back.
Oh, I'm looking at I'm on mobile. So what I did was, because it's I have a Huawei laptop, and the camera is built into the keyboard, which is.
You see the LinkedIn message. I've pasted it.
I'm gonna check out the LinkedIn message now.
Oh, you put it on that LinkedIn one where Ronnie asked, "Have you Utpal?" Oh, I see. Okay, right. Yeah.
Can we share this to our networks as well?
Are we allowed to share that, Utpal? Because I've got a client asking.
You are allowed to. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, you are allowed to.
Ronnie asked, "Have you Utpal?"
I need to put my my machine on mute here so I don't hear anything.
When I speak, I'm hearing a delay of you receiving it, which is unusual. Hopefully, I won't hear that hopefully I won't hear that when I'm speaking, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
No, I think it may have been I opened up the YouTube link, and as you had been speaking, it then opened up the video. So I just muted my entire machine.
No problem. I thought it was Utpal's one or something. Yeah, no, that's fine. We'll get there in a minute. Yeah. That's fine. So as you make us live in the meeting, Utpal, does somebody am I first? Because I'm 11:30 UK. Does somebody introduce?
Haji boli. ये बात कर ये आया है आप उसको गेट बोल दीजिए मतलब कौन सा जगह पे है so they are live. I just need how to keep power to this power. कंफिगर कर दीजिए हम क्या करेंगे चेंज कर देंगे खाली इसको पावर लगाना पड़ेगा बाकी तो सब कुछ होगा No, we don't go for that because it's creative problem and it takes time. You already configured. You can assume that how do you project it? Sunja. You project और उसमें नहीं उसमें है कोड this they cannot see when that part. That's fine. That's fine. That's going to put on this slide. ऐसा हो जाएगा कि इसके ऊपर रख देंगे the camera will be on and you can it's not a bad position but face cover नहीं इंटरनेट में देना नहीं वो पासवर्ड आयो 100 कौन सा वाला था 5G वाला ना Disconnected Zoom for a second, but it is connected. Zoom is also आप रिकॉर्ड देखो सर रिकॉर्ड स्टार्ट करते हैं रिकॉर्डिंग इज ऑलरेडी हियर हां वो क्रॉप करेंगे वो करेंगे स्प्लिट करेंगे ठीक है सो दैट इज फाइन So, Kate and Nazreen, you will have to wait for some time. We are just starting. Kindly bear with us. So only two are joined now. Okay, Peking and Nazarene. Yeah. He's coming.
Please, can you give me access to share my screen?
Hello.
Utpal,
Yes.
can you please give me access to share my screen?
Just we'll give you the access. So just give me 1 second.
Okay, no problem.
Hello. I've given the access to everyone. So yeah. So yeah. Hello, Dr. Antanesia.
Utpal,
Yes.
can you please give me access?
The access is given. Dr. Antanesia, I think you're on mute. I think you're on mute. Can you speak so that we can check whether your mic is working or not? Dr. Antanesia? Hello. You're on mute, I think.
I see him.
I'm on mute.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes, yes. So yeah, we are just starting. So we'll have the book launch, and we'll have the book launch and some introductory sessions. Okay, and soon after that we'll start.
I can barely
Oh,
hear
yes.
you due to noise. Let me close the
You're on
YouTube.
mute, I think.
I see him.
I'm on mute.
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes, yes. So yeah, we are just starting. So
सर स्टार्ट शुरू करते हैं। संजय
national chairman of media entertainment. Now I'm on the board of the distribution. Best. फर्स्ट टाइम बनी है अच्छी बनी यहाँ पे है ना जो बोले सो बोल रहा वो सदस्य मियाँ का बांधे 60 आदमी मेरे साथ काम कर रहे हैं और 12-14 से लोग आते जाते हैं तो हर महीने क्या कर रहे हैं काम कर रहे हैं हिंदुस्तान के जितना मीडिया वो अपग्रेड standard. I'm setting up the standards. Obviously, should be not just theater should be should be important event to possess and have everything in India. ऐसा नहीं कि तरह लोग कोना के बंगे आप जैसे आपने इवेंट करा आपने वो पेज खोला इवेंट करना है to make an international standard what we should standards आदि आई तो हम केबल ट्रस्ट स्टैंडर्ड था तार का था टोर का था ये जो हमारा पहले आईएसआई कहता था आजकल बीएचएस कहता है उसी में सब कुछ जरूरत है
even the facilities that you go there, you offer something that 2 months back, you are lost.
Best standard.
Good evening to all distinguished guests from the dais, dignitaries here, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a very fantastic event today by and the topic is the hottest topic now in the country. India, 2 days back, Honorable Prime Minister said in an event that यही समय है, सही समय. It is the India moment, as recognized by the world, and even more after the COVID. 100 years back, one monk, Swami Vivekananda told, now the center is India. At that time, India was under British rule, and almost now we are reaching to celebrate our 100th Independence Day in the country. Usually, personally, will be the COVID year. And within this entire phenomenon, since last 7-8 years, quantum change in the way that India economy, Indian intellect, Indian leadership is making dent across the world. AI, we are all now, AI has almost become like AI that we are living on. Every field, you know, we know, and even we don't know. There is some touch of AI. And given the latest avatar of ChatGPT and then the very well version of GPT-4, now we are actually in such a high momentum vehicle that every time, and very rightly said by George Maxwell, I forgot, he's a very renowned futurist, if I'm not wrong, so he told that by 2045 it will be India will be very close because singularity is near. Then he predicted that the machine intelligence will be as good as human intelligence and somewhere they will be merged. And today's session is going to be very exciting with the foreigners because we will be having a view of what AI can do, and also there is a regulatory part because AI is almost like Brahmastra, which every country is now trying to take the control and the latest development. And with that, we have galaxies here on the dais. We have with us Dr. Gulshan Rai, former National Cybersecurity Coordinator, PMO, Government of India. Dr. Rai, and now we'll honor our distinguished guest. So I request Utpal Chakravarti to honor Dr. Gulshan. Then we have with us Dr. Sandeep Marwah, who is the National Chairman of Media and Entertainment Committee, Minister of Parliament Affairs. also Chancellor of AIFT University. And I would request Mr. Soumyadeep Roy to honor Dr. Sandeep Modi. We will honor our next guest, Dr. Pawan Duggal, very renowned advocate Supreme Court, globally renowned authority in cyber law. Dr. Duggal will be honored by Mr. Sumit Kumar. I would have a request to my dear friend Gopal Chakraborty, who is the AI and quantum scientist, a very renowned global ambassador of AI and the chief officer of AI Digital, to introduce his book and say a few words.
Thanks for coming. So this is not only about launching the book, but it is all about AI for India. So as Dr. Chakraborty said, like in last few months, ChatGPT, or what we call as Generative, has taken the world into a storm. So almost, I think there will be hardly anyone who has not used ChatGPT. But this book is not all about ChatGPT. It is essentially about how AI can transform India. Starting from the corporates in the government, how it can play a major role in terms of contributing to our GDP, in terms of and to our employment. So AI already has got a huge high, but in last couple of years, many people, especially the AI experts and many other people, they have thought like AI has already reached its dead end, or whatever we have done, probably will not be able to cross that benchmark. But suddenly, OpenAI, which is the current company, this amazing product, okay, which has actually crossed all kinds of records that any product has been launched till now, whether it's a social media product or any other product for that matter. Not going into the technicality of the things, this branch of artificial intelligence is called generative AI. I would like to throw a little bit information on this particular article of AI. So when a neural network, we call neural network, so this is again, these are some, what do you call, jargons, but please don't worry about that. So a neural network is basically something which works like our human brain. How our human brain processes information, similarly neural networks also processes information in the same manner. So once this kind of a neural network is being trained into huge amount of data, this neural networks can understand not only the language, but also the world behind the language. Because if I write a story, I'm writing about somebody, right? So, for example, Ramayana and Mahabharata, if the model is being trained into Ramayana and Mahabharata, it will not only understand the story of Ramayana and Mahabharata, but also it will understand the relationship between the characters, the circumstances at that point of time, the sentiments, the emotions, and everything. And that's the beauty of generative AI, which we thought like those things will not be able to achieve anytime, right? So now this ChatGPT model has been trained with 175 billion parameters. Now you can think of it is being trained with the data, almost all data that is available in the public internet. May it be Wikipedias, may it be all public books, may it be all your blogs, may it be all the communication or conversation that you have done in your social media with your friends. ChatGPT is trained with everything. And that's the reason now it can create a fresh content. Okay, fresh, completely fresh content. It is not a cut, copy, paste from anything. It's a fresh content coming out from its own intelligence, from its own brain, you can say. Right? Now, this particular technology has been transformed by a revolutionary invention that has happened in the University of Toronto and in collaboration with Google. So some scientists came up with a neural network, a special kind of neural network called transformer neural network. And whatever we are seeing today is a transformer neural network. Very interesting. In this group, there were two scientists who are from Indian origin, not surprising. Today, any invention, any new things happening right outside India, but the contributions of Indians are always there. Mr. Ashish, a scientist from Google, he wrote a paper called Self-Attention, which is the backbone of ChatGPT. It helps when you fire a query or any kind of information to the ChatGPT, out of this 175 billion parameters and the understanding behind that, it can find out the right information and it can show you the right answer. Right, whatever it is, it may be article, it may be everything and everything today, everything. And it is not only restricted to the text, by the way, it is now been extended to images and videos. So OpenAI is coming up with another model, which is called iGPT, which will be specialized in images and videos. You keep any image or any video, it will be able to identify, it will be able to tell you what is going on inside that. If you want to make something out of that image or video, it will be able to do. So I think the possibilities are limitless. And we are actually living in an amazing time. I call it, we are living in the age of technological revolution, or the golden era of technological revolution. And as any other revolution that we've seen in the past, whether it is industrial revolution 1, 2, 3, or 4, right now we are in 4, some people say this is also 5, okay, there's some sustainability. So any revolution is basically attributed by not only one factor, but multiple factors comes together and brings this kind of a revolution. So here, credit should not only go to artificial intelligence. Okay, there are many other technologies that those are playing a major role. Just to name a few of them, big data, because AI can do nothing without data. Big data, then artificial intelligence, analytics, and nowadays metaverse. To bring these amazing time. And from an Indian perspective, I still personally believe, and I think many people believe, we are an IT superpower. Okay, may not be officially declared, but yes, we are. So anything happening across the globe, some implementations are happening in India, definitely. So why we can't be an AI superpower or a Web 3 superpower now? The world is looking at us. Okay, now it is us, our generation, to take that responsibility and make it happen. Thank you so much. Well,
was a brilliant presentation by the forum. And now is the time to launch the book. I would request the honorable guest, Dr. Bhushan Rai sir, Sundeep Manwa sir, and the Pawan Gopal sir. Please help the authors to launch the book. And I would request also to Mr. Sandeep Shah, who is the World Peace Foundation chairman, to come with us. And Axel Angelic, a good friend from Germany, please come. Axel is also a very well-known, worldwide well-known expert in AI.
There's a magic trick. Once again, sir.
It's recovering and it's clear communication from the coordination security. Coordination policy implementation.
Yes, of course. It's the start of the day. So
Thank you. So coming back to the topic, why there should be some regulation for the AI. See, India, as Upal rightly said, is now the global leader in the technology, and AI generated revenue stands to $12.3 billion in 2022. There are something happening across the world, and I give just two examples for you to some, because where this data and AI can go wrong if it is handled wrongly. There is an incident in UK where the state education department used algorithm to determine the final exam grade of students across the country. The result is that almost 40% students got lower grade than it has been allotted by their teachers. And not only that, it is also, that same thing is also favoring students in the private schools over those in the public one. In 2018, a self-auto-driven car of Uber made a street accident. The lady who was driving was actually seeing some soap opera in her mobile, and the car dashed someone and that girl died. Now came a very peculiar situation that whom could be actually blamed for that, whether that lady is responsible, or the autopilot system is responsible, or Uber is responsible. So here we ask Dr. Praveen Gupta, who is an authority in cyber law, and a very renowned global authority in cyber law. So I would request Gupta sir is a celebrated author also, and director of International Conference of Cyber Law also. and it is a golden opportunity to learn something from him. So I request Dublaji to come, say a few words.
Good God. The shoulders. Personality is really important. 30th of November 2022. That is the day, a normal day in our lives. But that's the day that shook the world. OpenAI actually launched ChatGPT. It took ChatGPT less than 5 days to achieve the 1 million user mark, leaving behind the Instagram, the Facebooks of the world. And thereafter, it's been not looking back. Every day, we're getting new users, but ChatGPT has actually opened up a Pandora's box. Why? Because the legal policy and regulatory issues pertaining to ChatGPT are something that we have not yet discussed. So when this got launched, I got onto ChatGPT, and the next 2 months, I've been extensively using this tool, trying to see the legalities. See, I'm a student of law, and I work only on the legal policy stuff. So I was extensively looking at this particular ChatGPT, and I realized that this is opening up a Pandora's box. Yes, for the last many years, I've been working on the legal issues of artificial intelligence. I had the artificial intelligence law hub in the global ecosystem. But this ChatGPT was something that's taken into the best of brains by complete surprise. Now, the remarkable capacity about ChatGPT today is its ability to do something that we know for a long time in India. In India, from the very childhood, we've heard of one particular phenomenon, gappe, just gassing around. ChatGPT does remarkably well in gassing around. No wonder one of the biggest legal challenges is how do we deal with hallucination of data on the ChatGPT? Well, ChatGPT is making a lot of grounds. Recently, a few weeks back, a judge in Colombia actually used ChatGPT for the purposes of writing. He gave the legal propositions to ChatGPT, took the answers, quoted the answers, and he became the first judge in the world to use ChatGPT for legal. That also, when I distinguish with another fact from Colombia, that Colombia also in February 2023 launched the world's first court hearing in the metaverse, where some element of ChatGPT was also used. So now it's crystal clear that ChatGPT is specifically touching each and every segment of humanity. But the legalities of the same have not yet been drawn. It took me 2 months, extensive research, and thereafter I launched this book of mine called ChatGPT and Legalities, which came a few weeks back, where I looked at how ChatGPT is going to be a precursor for a massive revolution of regulation of artificial intelligence. And the reason is very clear. Today, when I give a question or a query to ChatGPT, I get an answer. I'm very happy. I don't have to go ahead and browse through 10 different websites that Google gives me. And I, within a second, get to know which direction I have to go. But then, if I'm not careful, the chances of ChatGPT going ahead and misleading me are relatively high. Also, historically, there are some problems. ChatGPT only has data of the world till end of 2021, which means that if you're going to ask anything topical from ChatGPT, it's not going to do an answer. Why? Because it's not even aware. It's not yet trained on those data sets. But then what's the legality of the output of ChatGPT? Can I take a printout of ChatGPT and produce it in a court of law? I came to know that Indians have been very, very smart. So one lawyer in South India decided to give a proposition for argument, took the answer from ChatGPT, and completely, by verbatim, put it before the judge, including the cases that were quoted by ChatGPT. And you will be surprised to know the judge was appalled because out of the 5 cases quoted, 3 cases were non-existent. It had not happened. The names were anonymous. The propositions were anonymous. They were completely off the mark. So it was a classic example to show that ChatGPT was actually going ahead and hallucinating data. And that's been one of the biggest challenges. How do we stand for the legality of authenticity and veracity of data that's coming out of ChatGPT? So if I'm going to rely upon ChatGPT and I'm going to believe it as gospel truth, it's going to be my funeral. ChatGPT at best is only a torch. It's only showing you the light in the direction here. That light may not necessarily give you the complete contours of the landscape, but are reasonably a broad indication of what's lying ahead. Also, when I look at the ChatGPT ecosystem, I find the issue of liability very exciting. What happens if somebody relies upon ChatGPT and does some action? And as a result of that action, there's legal injury or harm that's caused to someone else. Who's going to be liable for that harm? Can ChatGPT be made liable? The answer is a crystal clear no, because ChatGPT is not a legal entity in the eyes of law. It's not legally recognized. There's no jurisdiction anywhere in the world till today afternoon when I'm talking, which is legally recognized artificial intelligence as a legal entity. Although a lot of good work is happening in the European Union, they are now extensively deliberating a new draft legislation on artificial intelligence. But still, most of the countries are, the wait and watch approach. They have come up with national policies on artificial intelligence to promote its use, but they have not yet gone in the direction, shall we recognize AI as a legal entity or a legal person? And if so, what could be the legal ramifications? So clearly in a scenario like this, the liability is going to go on the entity called OpenAI, who has gone ahead and deliberated this particular ChatGPT model. But then when I look at the terms and conditions of OpenAI, I look at the privacy policy, I look at the disclaimer, I find they've done their homework remarkably well because they have sought to potentially cover themselves. They begin by saying it's a work in progress. It's a technology that we have developed, but we have not yet completely honed and matured it. So please, we are opening it out for public feedback. Whatever feedback you give us, we'll go back into the further deliberation and the maturation of the said technology. But while all this was happening, 14th March 2023 came across. That was yet another dead letter day as far as artificial intelligence legal jurisprudence is concerned, because that's the day OpenAI announced GPT-4. It's been now, what, 10 days since GPT-4 has been launched, but it's taken the complete world by storm. In fact, when I now compare GPT-4 versus ChatGPT, I realize how much of advancement has this new artificial intelligence language model algorithm has already taken place in less than about 4 months, ever since the launch of ChatGPT. So again, the legalities have not been much addressed, though there are some now legal controls in GPT-4. For example, in ChatGPT, if I was to ask ChatGPT, please tell me how to commit the latest kind of cyber crimes, it's going to be an answer. Sir, I'm not going to tell you this answer, it's illegal. So please don't answer me that question. But if I'm going to be intelligent, and I will use a prompt command engineer to give such kind of prompts to ChatGPT that it cannot refuse, then it's going to come up with innovative answers on how to do cyber criminal activities. No wonder it's actually gone ahead and resulted in the development of the first kind of a computer contaminant or a malware. Now, this particular malware is such remarkable that's capable of lack of detection. None of the existing anti-malware products would be able to do this or identify this particular computer contaminant or malware that ChatGPT has released. So when I go in the corridors of the darknet, I realize that people are happy with it. Cyber criminals go along and say, look, here's now the next new avatar of new criminal business opportunities. Because after ChatGPT, one of the remarkable features of the developments of the darknet has been that a lot of players on the darknet have started specifically advertising their services of cybercrime as a service powered by generally artificial intelligence and powered specifically by ChatGPT. So in a scenario like this, it's going to open up a Pandora's box. There were lack of appropriate controls in ChatGPT, which they've now sought to make it far, far more stringent as far as GPT-4 is concerned. But again, the legalities of liability are important issues that have not yet been appropriately addressed. I think they will have to be done. Also, please be wary when you are relying upon an output of a ChatGPT or any kind of an artificial intelligence language model algorithm, because the biggest problems relate to intellectual property rights and copyright violation. It's going to give you an answer. You believe that answer to be 100% correct. Start asking the language model algorithm as to whom does the said intellectual property rights belong to, and it's going to be Fox. Well, when you ask them, who's copyrighted this? Well, it's going to give you some dodgy answers, but ultimately you will say, well, you can quote this and this has come from ChatGPT. But the reality is ChatGPT has relied upon those big data sets that have ultimately got both copyrighted and non-copyrighted information. So when the output comes, I don't exactly know which component of the output is protected by copyright versus which is not. So the chances of ChatGPT output actually going ahead and infringing the intellectual property rights of many are constantly increasing. That's why in Harvard, a scholar has now come up with a new product. This product is only aimed at looking the output and then identifying how much of that output has been generated by artificial intelligence language model algorithm. So, while on the one hand, when I go to Amazon.com, I find there's a new flooding of activity. Why? There's a sudden increase of people who are authoring ebooks based on the power of ChatGPT. But the reality is, if you start taking the output of ChatGPT and put it under your name, you'll actually play with your credibility. Why? Because once people come to know that it's not your article, it's not your book, but actually written by an artificial intelligence algorithm, not only your credibility goes down the drain, but more significantly, people stop believing. People stop believing in your intrinsic ability and your character. And that's going to be far, far massive in terms of the impact on the reputation, goodwill, and standing of the group. Well, I think the reality is the winds have changed. Much that I would want to be the comfort of 2022. 2023 now means new changes, and this is only the beginning. Well, we've also now seen how the bar announcement by Google and a long result given by the AI algorithm can actually lose to $1 billion of loss in terms of valuation for a company like Google. And now with the Copilot coming in, now with the new language model algorithm of Facebook coming in, and now an Indian version of ChatGPT already emerging in the form of Lady, and now the Bhagavad Gita ChatGPT actually being developed, which is only going to tell you the relevant verse and the Sanskrit shlok from Bhagavad Gita for any and every question that you're going to get. It's going to be a new one. So let's start picking up with this entire issue. Unfortunately, from a legal standpoint, I find that most of the countries are completely clueless as to how the legalities have to be addressed. And India is also pretty clueless because we have not done anything much in terms of addressing the legal policy and regulatory nuances pertaining to artificial intelligence. If you think the Indian Cyber Law and Information Technology Act 2000 is going to be helpful to you in this regard, you will be mistaken. Yeah, at the broad, the basic parameters, yes. Ultimately, AI is nothing but use of computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, as also data and information in the electronic form. So that broad rudimentary sense, yes, AI could be covered within the ambit of the Information Technology Act 2000. But the problem is that the law ends there. The law does not deal with the legalities pertaining to the cognitive intelligence of machines and whether we can grant legality to AI contracts. So the next time my AI algorithm enters into a contract with someone else, is it going to be a legal contract? Because it's not yet been done the legal version. Can it actually be given effects to? And what will be the legal ramifications? Should criminal activity be done? Today, cybersecurity breaches are extensively being done using inputs that's emerging from ChatGPT. ChatGPT is only the first precursor. It's not the final frontier. It's the beginning of a new chapter of a book that's going to be of many chapters. But yes, the broad messaging is loud and clear. The world over, countries are increasingly wearing down to the proposition that the legalities and the legal regulation of artificial intelligence will have to be appropriately addressed. It's only a question of when, because globally there's nothing happening no international treaty or arrangement on artificial intelligence. It's left to individual countries. Yes, we can actually take a leaf out of the state of Illinois in the United States of America, who from 1st of January 2020 implemented the world's first law on artificial intelligence, being the United States Illinois Artificial Intelligence Video Interview Act. But after that, we haven't seen much of activity. But now with ChatGPT coming in, now with GPT-4 coming in, lawmakers, governments, and policymakers will increasingly now be forced to look at how these legalities will have to be appropriately addressed. I would like to congratulate the authors of this book. Very, very topical. Well, it's been less than 5 months since less than 4 months since ChatGPT is coming. We already have a book on this particular aspects and the legalities. My congratulations to the thought leadership, the vision, and the forecast of the authors. And I can only tell you one thing: you only written the first book. You will be now trying to write many more editions of this book, because technology is moving at a remarkable space. But congratulations for your thought leadership, and thank you for showing the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dubra. It was extensive deliberation, and we could come out a little bit of what is going to happen. The hint is very clear. ChatGPT as well as GPT-4, especially as GPT-4 can be customized, and it is now said that it can directly customize for the legal as well as fintech, as well as health tech and edutech. And here with us, Dr. Sandeep Marwa, who is the cultural ambassador of 64 countries. And Dr. Marwa is also into education. He is the National Chairman of Media and Entertainment Committee, Ministry of Consumer Affairs. I would request Dr. Sandeep Marwa to say a few words that how the, in fact, there is a lot of impact in the art and culture domain like this. So, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure to be here this afternoon with all of you today in such a wonderful, well-organized event where we're going to discuss, learn, and speak about artificial intelligence, the most hottest topic all over the world. Respected sir, all the dignities, our guys and my dear friends, let me start with 2 lines I'm recollecting. कि सभी दिशाओं से शिव सुंदर आम विचार भरे नित अंतर पुण्य धरा बन जाए स्वर्ग ये मेरे यत्नों से करना. What I'm trying to tell you here, whether it is north, south, east or west, whether you're in India or abroad, whether you are on the top of the hill or you're standing at the seashore, whether you are in a lush green garden and looking at some colorful flowers, or maybe looking at the most beautiful woman on earth. The fact is, there are 2 things which are much more beautiful than what you can see with your naked eyes. And these 2 things are your thinking and your feelings. And the best part is that both the things are right within you. You don't even have to have eyes for that. On this very auspicious day, let's pray, hey Lord, give me good thinking, give me good feelings, so that I can do good deeds. And through my good karmas, I will love to convert this earth into heaven. This is what I believe. I'm sure you will also believe in the same. But the fact is that all that feelings and all that thinking slowly, gradually now is being taken over by machines, especially computers. And before I talk about this subject, let me take this wonderful opportunity to extend my heartiest congratulations to Utpal Chakrabarti, Saumya Roy, Samit Kumar, for giving birth today to life of generative artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. Let's give a big hand to all the 3 authors. They're right here on the right. Well, my dear friends, I would love to relate one small instance to you. I mean, that would be very interesting. My very good friend called up an Indian restaurant, and the minute he called up there, the guy at the counter picked up, and he picked up the phone and said, "Hello, Mr. Chopra, how are you? Hey, how are you doing? Probably I'm calling you for the first time. Oh, you must be having callers that bad." He says, "Sir, tell me, how can I help you?" He says, "Okay, I'm very keen in today to have Indian food. Pack 1 butter chicken, 1 shahi paneer, and probably 2 kulchas or butter naans. And please send me to test that. Yes, I have noted down. You are at 820 defense college. Hey, you know my address? Yes, sir. I know it. Fine. He says, can I recommend you something, sir? He says, yes. So can you change your order from butter chicken to roasted chicken and change your shri paneer to probably paneer tikka? He says, what do you mean? I have to eat or you have to eat? When I am ordering that means I feel like having this. Listen, I have to request. I'm just requesting you. He said, why? He said, because the sugar is very high. So what? He said, your sugar is high, sir. I said, how do you know? He said, I can see here. He said, but I'm having my medicine. What do you mean by that? He said, no, sir, it's been 1 month. You haven't purchased your medicine. He said, no. How come you know that I haven't purchased? I wanted it. I paid cash. He said, that is the reason that you have a GST notice also. He said, my God, I ordered for food and you're telling me my history? He says, sir, I'm only recommending you and I'm sending you a picture. Have a look. You'll definitely find these 2 dishes better than this. And press your button on computer. The minute you press the button on computer, suddenly a dish comes out of the computer. Dish comes out of the computer. 4D, not even 3D. 4D, you can smell chicken tikka or paneer tikka, whatever it is. And you can see the stream on it. And he says, fine, got it. They're looking better. Pack these 2. And send me fast. The boy is already on the way. Now see, this is how the world is going to move. This is 90% is already done. 10% on the way, whatever I've just told you. This is what is called blockchain, supported by metaverse, supported by artificial intelligence. My dear friends, what I or you have to do, I really don't know. But time will come, we only just have to sit right in front of the computer and think what we have to do. Now you don't even have to think. A chip is already being created, which can be installed in you, and you can, when you're going back to your past, suddenly, let's say, for example, 5 years back, you went to Kashmir, and you still remember the scenery which you saw in Kashmir. Oh, it was such a beautiful mountain full of snow. Can you have a picture? Suddenly your printer will print the picture, what your head, your mind, your memory had 5 years back. That picture will be printed. This is how this artificial intelligence is going to take over you, my dear friends. 8 years back, we were very happy that the Government of India has started a beautiful scheme, which is called Aadhaar card. And everybody wanted to have, I want to have Aadhaar card. It looks good. Every identity card is very impressive. Whether it's American Express or it's a Aadhaar card. Everyone wants to have one additional identity card because it adds to your status. And you forget that it is nothing, but it is a total game of artificial intelligence supported by blockchain. Now, after 8 years, your name, your address, your telephone number, your mobile number, your income tax, GST number, your passport number, your foreign visits, your purchases, your and everything is being registered under one head, and which is, yet to be completed because it's slightly slow in comparison to the rest of the world. But then we are quite up to date, and probably another 2-3 years, everything will be on your one single Aadhaar card based by artificial intelligence. And you just have to either speak your mobile number or just have to give any of the card numbers, any of the numbers, any one thing. And the man who is talking to you will be able to know your complete status. I'm talking about from the government point of view, not private, from government point of view. And they know your status that yes, it will be difficult to cheat people. It will be very difficult to be dishonest in this country. It will be very difficult to manipulate things so easily. And that's what is, I think, needed. It is needed. Now, why I'm telling you things? Because this is very interesting thing, which probably are directly connected to artificial intelligence. And there is one very interesting thing which I would love to tell you when I say photography, which is also my subject. And the new cameras have come where, I mean, I don't know if you remember a film called Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox, where the Michael J. Fox gets back into the machine and he goes back to the future, to the past. That's the whole film is all about part one, part two. And 40 years back, it was one of the biggest hit all over the world. Now, that was fiction, that was drama, that was just thinking. Today, it's a reality. The still camera has already been invented where, let's say, two cars, they met with an accident, and both of them have bargained. Nobody wants to get into problems. But police came late, as per what you see in Hindi cinema. And then that guy will click the picture of that location, and you will get the picture of both accidented cars. And nobody can speak lie on that account, because that picture is to that time now going to be with the concerned officer. Now, this is how the intelligence is going back now into the past. Future, all I'm going to talk about. This is the past. So remember that this whole artificial intelligence is going to take over many things from a human being, from his emotions, from his thinking, and we all have to be very alert. When I talk about cinema, the cinema is already being invented, I must say that, because it's now the next films what we will see is sitting back in theater when you are watching the cinema, and when a heroine of the film is trying to put a perfume, suddenly you will smell in the auditorium. Oh, that's a nice smell. You can feel that. And when both the hero and heroine about to leave from a room or from a house, and suddenly hero says, "Oh my God, it's raining," and suddenly you get the water drops on your head, sitting back in theater. So this is how we're trying to even add on to this, all the uses of this artificial intelligence into this 4D system in cinema. Now, my dear friends, this is how we are moving. There are probably another 50 more interesting examples which can be given today. And why I'm telling you all this, it will raise the level of interest in you that artificial intelligence is doing wonders. But when we talk about ChatGPT, this morning I was trying ChatGPT because I was going through it. Of course, it's one of the most convenient setup today, right now, because there's no strain on your brain. You asking this robot that you need this, and in less than a second, the answer starts coming on your computer screen. It's a miracle. I think it's a miracle. Somebody has to. But only thing is that depends what is the usage, what level you want to go into. As my friend Sutugar has very well said, that not all laws are being fed into the system. And probably if you're only asking for one Indian law, and on Indian law you're asking for mercantile law, and then mercantile law, probably you're talking about one particular section, it's a handicap. It will never be able to give you that kind of an answer, and this whole system becomes bad for people like him. But someone like you and me, who are an ordinary citizen and looking for extraordinary information, and you have no time, we don't want to go for research, we don't want to put in efforts. I think this ChatGPT is a miracle right now, and very well said, sir. He has to rewrite the books again and again, because the amendments, the alterations, the additions, the subtractions, all going to be there in a shortest period of time, and probably all that has to be amended immediately so that the book is correct for the reader. Well, I think because I was here to listen to the dignitaries here, but I was asked to speak. So I think whatever little I wanted to contribute today within the specific time which I have been given, I have tried to deliver my point of view. Thank you very much. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dr. Marwa. He's always vibrant, very lively. I think all of you enjoyed the way he presented the human face of technology. And now we request, we are eager to listen to our chief guest, Dr. Gulshan Rao. He is the former National Cybersecurity Coordinator, PMO. He was Director General SART. He was in the Ministry of Communication and IT, Government of India. Dr. Rai had very big, illustrations, and he is a very renowned person, legendary person in fact. Group Coordinator, E-Security and Cyber Divisions, and we are extremely delighted to have your kind time, sir. I request you to say a few words.
Mr. Sandeep Marwa, my friend who has just left Dr. Pawan Gupta, Mr. Manish Jain, Mrs. Geeta Jain, Varun Jain, the three authors, Mr. Sumit Kumar, Somerdeep Roy, Dr. and Dr. Jayanta Chakravarti, Dr. Sunil Agarwal, Anuj Agarwal. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. I am really delighted to be here among all of you, more particularly to launch the book written by a young, very young person, technical person. Oh, sorry, three authors. One of them is very, very young, the Sumit Kumar, Dr. Chakravarti, and Soumya Deepa. I would certainly like to congratulate them. The great job they have done, particularly when the speakers have said the complexity of the entire system. If you look at ChatGPT, what is generative trained transformed, such a big complex thing, and the book has come. Someone has said November 22, and there is not even March is not over. It's a tremendous work there. 29 chapters in the book. And I was scanning through the chapters there. The entire presentation is really very good presentation. One wonders, look at the complexity of the entire subject. I just tell you complexity. And then you realize what kind of work these three authors have done. I don't know what kind of experience they have. I can tell you, I have been dealing with the AI, started doing this here as the years 99. We were reloading projects when we were. And we were trying to do something with the regular program. I went to technology, they were also trying to. But it has taken more than 40 years to come to this position of ChatGPT. Pawan said, oh, they have to be launched. Of course, the price version is so far the free version is $20, so they are talking about the ChatGPT. The work of 40 years going on, and these three authors have concise everything in a matter of time. There was just 2 months or so understanding the vision on which they look at it, which area is working. And that's why I said, I'm very delighted to be here to talk this. But this is the beginning. This is the beginning. When what Dr. Marwa said, what Pawan said, that's one aspect of the issue we look at. But then there is another aspect also, is the also the code. In 2002, when the search engine happened, Google search engine came up there. But considered to be one of the more transformation. And here in 2000 was a year where the transformation is kind of a step function came up, where the destruction was even a different plan. But if you look at it, do we call it digital transformation or technology transformation? What all I would rather say It's a transformation in the existing technology, rather than another layer of digital. Well, it's touching almost everybody's life. We are using the AI in some or the other way on a day-to-day life. You send a message, the reply comes to you, and it puts the reply on. But I will only answer one point. Well, I mean, in one sentence. Do you accept what the message the mobile phone types for you, or the email types for you? Do you accept? Or do you write the same thing? At times, yes, then the simple thank you. But when you have to write the message, that message only helps you to bring your answers, bring your reply. You just throw some information. As long as we use such kind of a technology marvel to assist yourself, you will be happy. But if you try to incorporate everything in your life, it's natural phenomenon. Gita is here, she is a mother also. Does she accept everything, or has she accepted everything? What the child Varun would have told to her? No. She listened to him, he listened to her. I mean, all of us listen. But then we try to see how do we use it, how do we adopt it, what do we do? And in that way, ChatGPT certainly is a very, very assistive, intelligent tool kind of thing which will help in enhancing our productivity, our efficiency. Search engine. I'm sure Gita, you would have done it there. When Varun would have said crossword, you would have first gone to the Google search engine. We have been answering the parliament question asked to us. You first go to the Google and try to see who has asked this question and try to see what is the orientation of this question. So we use Google search engine as a kind of an aid. It's better to use ChatGPT rather than using as a you take it a decision. And that's what three authors have tried to explain the entire thing. One has to understand the technology. One has to understand the intent with which this has been done. ChatGPT 1, ChatGPT 2. You know, ChatGPT 2, after all, what is the size of the parameter with ChatGPT 2? 50 billion parameters. The ChatGPT 170 billion parameters. Now imagine ChatGPT 4. What is the size of the database or the parameter searches? 1 trillion parameters. From 171 to 1 trillion, you see it's almost a factor of 5, more than a factor of 5. So artificial intelligence is nothing. If you make your rich directory rich, your database bag is rich, your answers, your information. And that's what ChatGPT is from. ChatGPT is putting the images also, video images also, so you can get it better to kind of understand. It's a complex phenomenon, and that's why more I think that some of it understand that I really appreciate this young authors and the other two authors there. How what kind of thought went on to you? People have been trying to teach us this whole thing, making them must use AI in order to do it. The current Chief Justice, Honorable Justice Chandrachud also has been talking about AI is a big technological science, technology. We understand technology as much as we understand the legal engine. The issue of using the ChatGPT in your legal work is far, far away. It's not like this. There will always be an issue when you frame a law to address such kind of the issues arising of the action. There will be issues. Both emerging technologies is based in a lot of issues. The major dilemma before us and for the society as the time goes on, we think in a real world, we address every issue in the real world. Dr. Marwa gave an example. The guy in the chat bot, which he throws away, these are the issues. But ultimately, that's all virtual. You have to order, you have to press what is said physically in the real. So it's a real virtual world interface that is going to become a challenge. And we, as the virtual world is becoming more complex, is what we must say. Our challenges of understanding and converting and addressing into the real world is going to be more and more complex. And certainly, ChatGPT is one of those tools. What is the tool there? Is a language processing tool, which is supposed to give you a human-like kind of experience, human-like interaction. That's what it's supposed to. Larger is the database behind that, better is the result, better is the kind of the results you expect. 1 trillion parameter in ChatGPT. And what they are trying to do, you ask a question, they give the answer, it also becomes a part of it. And that's why they have been able to go from 3 to 4 because so much people. More than 50% of our all popular propaganda of the world is also the result of the generating theory. And I invite all of you few days before. The big news there, the President Trump, who was the former President Trump, who was arrested, all of you will see.
Yes, yes.
And few days before that, all of you see the Bill Gates giving an interview and the interviewer lady asking a very good question and asking on the vaccine kind of a very good question. Next moment, the all was generating. As the two speakers have said it has an advantage as long as you want to take an advantage. But if you don't want to listen to the advantage, you want to do something, experiment, the result, the repercussions, the after effect is very, very serious. I give an example and many more examples. What you see the WhatsApp so far universal in our country also. Most of the time we keep on spending time on the WhatsApp. Show the things on the generating AI only. So it has a result, good and bad, it depends upon us. How do we? And that again I come back. Doctor done an commendable job to highlight the positive, constructive part. They have highlighted the use of this system. They are highlighted the technology aspect. I don't think I was trying to see the 29th chapter. What is left out for a person like me thinks? What is left out and how do we answer? How do we, where do I the answer technology, the answer process, the answer legal issues? So it's a comprehensive kind of a thing there. And I'm sure, I said, it will be used comprehensively by many people. I mean, by using comprehensively, it will be used for the conceptive purposes and not the destructive purposes of this. I mean, the repercussion of using a trying to do this kind of bot, chatbot is a very, very disastrous. Launch, cyber attacks, launch, any kind of thing that is going to be very, very difficult. And then we have to see what legal issues. Legal issues will emerge by and large the defamation. And I'm sure the judiciary will never accept any kind of decision coming from ChatGPT because if if any one of you look for you have a legal problem, you can put a problem there and ask the solution. Someone else also, because that is recorded there. Your opponent also will see what answer. The usage of ChatGPT or such bot depends upon how do you frame a question. You go to search engine there, Google engine. You put one type of query, you get 10 types. You slightly change the query, you will get another 10 types. So, how do you use the ChatGPT? That depends. And what accuracy you are looking for, it depends on you. How do you frame it? That is the real work. That's why I say the role of intelligence, human intelligence, and the role of a person applying the mind, that is going to decide that cannot be taken. I don't know. I am sure not in my lifetime. What happens subsequently? That possible. So I without taking because much of the things have been said. I said book is certainly a very, very good kind of a system because the entire programming is there for the ChatGPT. I know they have been doing it for the last couple. Microsoft has been engaged in doing this kind of developing this model. They have 5 centers, R&D centers here in Bangalore. Also, they have China. They have a big centers. They have in 2 of the centers. They have been very regularly involved in developing this kind of model. These are very complex models. And I think the understanding the technology part will help us to move in a constructively in technology direction in other direction. And that's where I will. So thanks the authors very much. Thanks the publisher who has taken this. I know Manish Puri, the publisher, has been today at the forefront of coming out research technology and of course that's what I also been reading books when I was a student there. Now, until here also, and he will tell you the disruption which the technology has brought, not only in individuals, but in the whole structure of the books, whole structure of the publication change, whole structure of understanding. And I think before the function, you were talking about it, and I was quite perplexed to see how the models. Thanks to Manish, you have brought this book, published this book, and I would certainly thank all of you speakers. It's a great honor to see our young authors there. Great work done by them, great appreciation. I only pray about that they may should write more and more such posts, more and more versions. Rest assured, ChatGPT 5 will come. The complexity of the ChatGPT bar is coming. The utility of this itself is a big question mark. ChatGPT, I'm not talking ChatGPT. Such utility is still a question. People may say the bar result came out, the capital went down, market cap is what they say, but no. Actually, they are going. Meta also has come. Sandeep was talking about Meta also come back to ChatGPT. But then they have withheld that kind of thing. So we still have to see the utility, whether the human minds are in a position to accept utility and what kind of agency. And that's where I request the 3 authors to come back and bring further version. And I'm sure they will. And I'm sure Amit will come out with the several time of the ChatGPT will further come out with that. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very well said.
It was such a valuable deliberation. This GPT-4, ChatGPT, AI, these are all domain every time unveiling the new potentials, new dimensions. And now I request there will be an action with the kind of a thing. We have to relaunch the book because the media people came a little late. So I request again to come on the dais, Mr. Sandeep Shah and myself. And I request our chief guest of honor, authors to relaunch the book.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Young man, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Okay, so now I request the person who is the man behind this printing of this book, a very renowned publishing house, BPB Publications.
And the main person of the BTG is here, Mr. Jain. I request him to speak few words. Please come to the. Actually, you are going to speak. Baton is handed over. Please.
Thank you everyone for having me here, and it was a pleasure hearing you all and your experiences. They were brilliant. I would also like to congratulate Mr. Utpal Chakravarti, Romeo Roy, and Sumit for their book. We've been working very hard on this book, and that we team was working hard on this book along with you. A little brief about GPT. So we are Asia's largest publisher of computer and IT books. So with a magnitude of national and international authors, we have been providing affordable IT education to everyone in India and globally. We were driven by the motive that knowledge about technology should be very reasonable price and even be available to everybody across the globe. We wish to empower kids, IT professionals alike to take a more role in technology industry and its new matters. Once again, I express my heartfelt gratitude. First is anesthesia. Thank you everyone who's going to thank you.
Okay. So now the time to listen to some of the global thoughts on AI domain. I will now request Mr. Mark Minovich, who is the Chief Digital AI Strategist, UN Advisor, Fortune 500 Mr. Mark Minovich will join as Zoom. Just give us a few moments to say.
Yes, hello, greetings to you. Greetings to
Yeah, Mark. So, yeah, Mark, can you that you can check whether.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I think you have to change.
I can hear you fine, Mark.
Excellent.
I can also hear you fine, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mark. So Mark, you can start, and after that we'll go with Najreen, and then with Kate King. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Mark Minovich. I'm speaking to you from New York. And thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to address this esteemed group of colleagues in India as you're celebrating the release of this exciting publication and the work that you're doing in the AI community, generating all of the great initiatives in AI. So I only welcome this. I start this session today by giving you a statement from Elon Musk, who made a statement in 2016, who said, "We must have democratization of AI technology and make it widely available. And that's the reason you, me, and the rest of the team created OpenAI that was supposed to spread out AI technology so it doesn't get concentrated in the hands of the few." And we'll take the time today to see if that's really the case and the impact it has on many different use cases, as well as also the work of the governments. So before we actually begin the presentation, I want to just mention a couple of things. As we were living in the age of the pandemic in 2020, 2 years of digital transformation has happened, as you know, in 2 months. Now in 2023, 10 years of AI transformation is happening in 2 months. Almost unreal. And it creates a confusion among many people that are in the world of technology, government, and many organizations around the world. Someone said, I don't know if I should be building something AI related, if I should be worried about AI taking my job, if I should start learning about AI, or should I apply for a position in open AI? That's complete confusion in the marketplace. But nevertheless, this is an exciting time. And I'm going to touch upon use cases today. I will also jump to digital government and artificial intelligence. As you know, I have co-authored a report in the UN Digital Government Survey of 2022, which I touch upon those areas that I'm speaking about today. Now, ChatGPT, as you have eloquently spoke about this today, shocked users with its breadth of knowledge. It became the fastest growing consumer app to date, 100 million users and growing. There's no denying the strength that generative AI is demonstrating. According to the Financial Times, investments in generative AI in 2022 exceeded 2 billion. OpenAI valuation set an impressive 29 billion. Clearly, this indicates enormity of interest from investors and corporations in generative AI technology. As the world embraces technology and automation, businesses are beginning to explore infinite possibilities. How could those possibilities be explored? We have to understand that it's a massive model that we're dealing with, 175 billion parameters or more. This large language models, so-called LLMs, and foundation models are powering those new advances that we're seeing in generative AI. It's very significant. It's not only just a code and language, but it's enabling machines to learn the context, to infer intent, and be independently creative as human beings. But they can also quickly fine-tune a wide range of so many different topics, from government to science to business to healthcare to people to our life. And I believe this type of artificial intelligence is on the cusp of creating autonomous, self-sustaining, digital-only enterprises, and possibly what we call cognitive governments that can interact with humans without the active need for human intervention. 2023 will be a fantastic year for intensive use case exploration of generative AI. In 2024, it's all going to be about scale and the ones which are going to succeed, the ones which are going to go to the mainstream. Generative AI is becoming more widely adopted as enterprises are beginning to utilize for a variety of tasks, as you have pointed out, from healthcare to marketing to customer support to sales to learning to client relationship. This type of AI that we're dealing with creates marketing content, generates pitch documents, produces ideas, and crafts sophisticated advertising campaigns, all custom driven to improve conversion rates and drive more revenue. It's becoming on a track to become a most widely adopted technology for commercial use and part of the creative workflow and process. And I could see companies that could soon routinely leverage this text and imagery to create entirely new concepts of marketing and displays. What I could tell you is generative AI companies are beginning to see massive success in venture capital, with many raising large sums of money and achieving high valuation. As per TechCrunch, Jasper, a copywriter assistant, recently raised 125 million at 1.5 billion valuation. Hugging Face raised 100 million at $2 billion valuation. Stability AI raised 101 million at 1 billion valuation. Inflection AI raised 225 million at post-money valuation. I could go on and on. But let's talk about the future of work and then jump into the future of government. It's clear that some jobs are being replaced by automation. Manual manufacturing, retail cashiers, bank clerks. We have seen the machines take over a lot of their work, even before AI became a commonplace as it's today. At the same time, I do believe that AI will create new opportunities, new jobs for design, implementation, selling, managing, and overseeing the technology itself. Generally, they will be high-paying, safer, more comfortable, and more rewarding jobs than those being replaced. Media is saying that generative AI startups do not require investor money. I disagree with that. There would be a lot of room, as Elon Musk pointed out, as I said in the beginning of conversation, for democratization and small startup ventures. Absolutely true. However, established companies such as Microsoft, such as Alphabet, IBM, Salesforce, Meta, will be acquiring many of those small startups. I do want to see how many of them will have a chance to succeed. But we're not only dealing with economics, we're dealing with ethics, and we're dealing with responsible systems and government policy. Right now, many of the governments and regulatory authorities across the world lack policy for steering AI, never mind generative AI. We don't have a clear sense of what issues need most regulations or to be regulated. We must remain mindful of potential biases and ethical concerns, especially since AI systems learn for themselves, and what they learn would be apparent until systems act. And once they act, it could be very difficult to determine the value that have been incorporated into the systems. So, the more enterprises and governments deploy AI, the more the risk complicating the problems. Currently, as you could see, just in images that are generating lifelike images of potentially presidents, government officials have raised concerns about its integrity and its abuse. AI has been accused of propagating human biases, namely because AI technologies are trained using the data provided by humans. Those biases are core issues that companies and governments will need to address immediately in order to successfully integrate robust AI systems into production and real-life environments. We need to think about federal guardrails in what private companies can and cannot do. Take autonomous vehicles. In the United States, federal standards have been very elusive. Who takes the responsibility? Is it left to the state level, the county level? Who does it? So through investments, I believe governments must focus on high quality data, connectivity, infrastructure, local talent. That will develop pathways to develop new AI capabilities and new talent. Specifically important, generative AI has potential to benefit significantly G7 countries, enabling them to remain competitive with emerging talent coming out of the BRICS. It could reduce the need for the manual labor and skilled talent in certain areas, allowing companies to focus on innovation and creativity. However, it could also help optimize production processes by identifying trends and potential improvements. Those large language models, or LLMs as we call them, escalate the amount of data processed, they boost the data models, they massively increase the amount of compute, and the key word here is scale. So in order to accomplish this, I think the world will rely upon large tech conglomerates, primarily where in Silicon Valley. Is this right or wrong? I can't answer that. You will have to answer that, in which many countries around the world continue to rely. Let me tell you the scenario. Amazon's R&D is about 2.5 times larger than the German federal government. For instance, that tells you a lot. Generative AI can help bridge the gap between human creativity and technological innovation, for sure. Companies can maximize potential for top results.
You have another 2 minutes to conclude.
Quality assurance and customer satisfaction by combining creative mindsets and powerful algorithms. With the advent of generative AI, G7 have opportunity to remain competitive in a very fragmented world. Outside of the G7, we need to focus on international collaboration, secure data and infrastructure and compute to develop those MLMs and not to be in position to depend upon Silicon Valley. For a few minutes that I have, I want to just focus on a couple of examples. The government is lagging behind the private sector in developing AI, so at least not much for government use of technology through consulting and other companies. But the rise of artificial intelligence has very significant implications in general for efficient and effective government service. For example, AI-powered chatbots providing 24/7 customer support for citizens. That's important. While machine learning algorithms analyzing large amounts of data, identifying patterns and insights, informing decision-making. AI can automatically automate routine tasks, such as processing paperwork, freeing up government employees to focus on more complex and value-added tasks. I want you to listen to a couple of statistics, and then I'll give you a few examples and I'll be finished. According to the PwC research carried out in 2021, 52% of companies in the United States expedited the AI adoption because of COVID-19 crisis. 89% believe AI would become a mainstream technology. Government decision makers worldwide are very well aware of the importance and impact of digitalization, but acknowledge that many challenges must be overcome. Deloitte done a survey, 76% of 1,200 government officials from 70 countries surveyed believe that digital technologies are disrupting public sectors. 96% characterize the impact on the domain as significant. And in the recent report in the United Nations that I've been privileged to participate, 70% of the respondents believe that public sector lags behind the private sector in terms of capabilities. Again, by analyzing vast quantities of data, AI can identify patterns in public health crisis that we have seen with pandemic. It is already proven to be an invaluable pandemic crystal ball in predicting the spread of the COVID-19 variants. Pandemic has accelerated the use of AI in e-government and business, and this is a big deal. During the pandemic, the government of the United Kingdom has scaled the concept of digital justice, holding many court proceedings online. The United States Supreme Court has conducted hearings through teleconference platforms. The government of Spain has deployed AI-powered healthcare chatbot called HISPABot to answer 200 questions on different topics. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, is testing facial recognition at selected airports and advanced systems and identity. This is what we're seeing. AI can predict service needs from the pace of fire and EMT calls to long-term housing crisis. It can help public employees navigate HR benefits. Britain's Chatham House think tank calls AI technology, which is likely to be transformative to human history as the Industrial Revolution. And I tend to agree with this. But the governments must adopt data-driven and AI-assisted data gathering systems and dynamic simulations to allow them to explore the best, to engage users, to respond to their needs, to assess impact of digital services. Finally, 1 minute, if you allow me to finish. There are evolving technologies and approaches that should be further explored by governments working to bring public sector into the 21st century across the world. We're talking about what I said in the beginning, cognitive government. Cognitive government leverages hindsight, real-time data, foresight to drive policy making and decision making. According to the World Bank, the best governments in the world are constantly learning, they're evolving, they're making decisions just as people do. Hopefully, generative AI will help with this. When government perceives itself as a cognitive systems, it can help to learn more quickly. Cognitive systems within a government can make faster decisions by learning from past experiences and using real-time data to make more reliable projections into the future. This combined augmented learning and decision-making capabilities will create immense public value. It will create intelligent architecture by identifying and managing risks associated with digital tools and technologies. Governments can realize transformative potential nature of digitalization as a whole to improve sustainability and government operations. Again, the idea that governments should be more focused on predicting possible future scenarios to prevent problems and strengthening crisis readiness and response is exactly what we need with anticipatory governments in the future. And very much thank you so much for this intervention and this discussion. I hope you found it helpful, and I wish you a productive session today. Again, congratulations with the launch of this book and the session that you're all having today in this fantastic institution in Delhi in India. Thank you very much. Hello? I think we have other speakers on that are waiting to step in, so maybe we should just proceed, whoever is coming next after me. Thank you so much.
That was a great discussion, Mark. Thank you so much. Valuable examples, relevant positioning. It's always so thrilling to hear you speak, and thank you very much for that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you and all the distinguished colleagues around the world. Have a great session.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I know Katie King is another esteemed speaker, but I don't know if we have the organizers back up. Just to,
I believe they said you were next, Nazarene, after Mark. I think it's you next and then me. So,
okay, brilliant. We'll just kick off then. Thanks
absolutely.
so much, Katie.
Thank
Mark.
you. Well done, Mark. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. So, just to say many congratulations to Utpal Chakrabarti, Soumyadeep Roy, Sumit Kumar for this wonderful publication and the launch of it. It's wonderful to be part of the launch. Rise of generative AI and ChatGPT. I heard many of the esteemed guests there who spoke prior to us, Dr. Gulshan Rai, Mr. Praveen Parekh, Dr. Sandeep Marwa, and Dr. Pavan Zugal, speak about the different elements around ChatGPT, GPT-4, and generative AI as a fast-moving technology that is taking us by storm. And I say that because as industry professionals, it's also difficult to keep up. The stats that you heard Mark refer to and speak about across multiple industries, governments and private institutions that are choosing to use technologies as the large language models that they're called, which you've heard enough about in this session, are being instituted or implemented, whether they're through third-party apps or if they're being plugged into an existing system. This is clear for us to see. So my role today, particularly in the 10 minutes that I have to speak, is about our perspective, speaking about generative AI, but from what perspective? So just to give you a bit of insight, I run a for-profit business in South Africa called NAS Consulting International. It's a corporate communications business. On the other side of that, I run a not-for-profit technology research organization called Socially Acceptable. And Socially Acceptable's mandate is to build a responsible digital citizenry. What does it mean? So responsible digital citizenry is about making sure that people, general people on the street, the everyday UN person, everyday person like you and me, understand their rights about what it means to share your data, what it means to use platforms, what it means to have a digital identity. And in these things that we do, when we have a mobile phone, we have created a digital identity that's pretty much like having national citizenship of a country. That's how it should be likened to in this day and age. So when you look at the rise of generative AI and ChatGPT, we are in the next stage of evolution around what technology is meant to do for us, what it can do for us, what it's been manifested in terms of visionaries to do for us. To do for us, that's a part where we need to discuss the ethics and the capability of these ever-evolving technologies on a day-by-day basis to serve us in equitable outputs. I think that is the thinking and the idea around what needs to happen now. So if I look at the release notes that on the 23rd of March that GPT-4 talked about, the three things that they looked at were advanced reasoning, complex instructions, and more creativity. That's how they describe the way this platform is now built to be able to articulate any instruction or input that you give it, a query. I think a lot of people have been having difficulty with trying to figure out the query mechanism for how to get it to work effectively. If you go onto Twitter, you just need to get onto a thread about ChatGPT, GPT-4, to look at the number of people involved in the technology industry, whether they are developers, data scientists, and technology enthusiasts, AI enthusiasts, who figured out a way very quickly of 100, 200 input commands that might be useful for you to get the most out of GPT-4, ChatGPT. These elements of advanced reasoning, complex instructions, and more creativity talk to some of the issues that I've heard many of the guests talk about, the future of work and what it means for us to understand its role in our everyday output. As professionals, as people in any industry, whether our output is manual or in a professional capability or by critical thinking. These are important to think about and understand. If I think about a recent note that Abhishek Gupta, one of my colleagues, and many of you may know him, the founder of Montreal AI Ethics, he made a comment, I think it was earlier today, saying that there was a bug in an open source library which allowed some users to see titles from another active user's chat. OpenAI released this news, took down the service earlier this week to fix that bug. And they then also made a comment that additionally, payment-related info of 1.2% of ChatGPT Plus subscribers who were active during a specific 9-hour period was unintentionally exposed. This means that, like every other business that are trying to pivot quickly, go to market, have users test it, get feedback and reiterate, they are very much like every other company. But how are they different? How are they different? And what don't users realize about sharing all the data that they have with them? Because if OpenAI claims to have, and you can go and ask ChatGPT right now when you type it in, if you are not using the premium version of it, because the premium version, like Twitter Blue these days, gives you certain benefits that you won't get with the free version. If you ask it how much of data it's trained on, it will give you, as Utpal mentioned at the beginning, 175 billion parameters of data points that it's been trained on. But it will tell you it has training up until September 2021 thereabouts, but continues to be trained on input that it gets and tries to understand current reference points, which it can pull into its learning. This is an interesting thought process to have, because if we are looking at the way that it's the reasoning capability that it has, the level of training that it has, the layer or levels that it can reach out to, I'm also mindful of something I read just now as we were sitting on this call. There's a Twitter user called Peak Cooper who wrote a massive thread, GPT-4 saved my dog's life. How? The mind boggles, but how? Because I did a bit of research on why GPT-4 would be valuable in the instance of healthcare, which I think across various countries, the concept of healthcare has been one of the most spoken of elements, considering we've all lived through COVID. But essentially, the thread is around, they took the dog who had a flea infection to the vet. The dog got progressively sicker. It underwent blood tests. It was given some medication and a course of treatment. It was fine for a few days and then got progressively sicker. They went to a second vet for a second opinion, could not understand what was going on with the dog. This user decided to take all the blood results as they were and put them directly into ChatGPT. What happened was GPT-4 then released or gave the user multiple instances of what other possible type of infections that are a very common cause with that kind of infection that the dog had could be a potential. And guess what? Number 2 on the list was what they found to be wrong with the dog. The dog's now on a course of treatment and has almost recovered, according to the thread that is about 15 hours old on Twitter. What does this mean? This means that should we be afraid of the role that generative AI plays in our workspaces, in who we are as human beings? And I'm mindful of an article that was written about 2 or 3 days ago by Yuval Noah Harari, who's a famous author, as everyone knows his books Homo Sapiens and the like, including Eza Raskin from, I think it's the Stanford Center for Humane Technologies. They wrote a short piece about what it means for humanity to be overtaken by a large language model that has the capability to have advanced reasoning and to display a sense of creativity that is quicker, faster, and perhaps more unrivaled in terms of imaginative capability and capacity. These are complex and large questions to be asked. And as I end off this call in this talk in our short time together, I would imagine that there are things that we need to talk about, which I have not had a chance to look through the book, A Rise of Generative AI and ChatGPT, co-authored by these 3 amazing professionals. But when I do, I think that there may be questions we look at from the cybersecurity element of being able to have much sophisticated ways in a much quicker format of hacking through every kind of system, the regulatory and ethical components around which these large language models and the training from the data that they have is implemented. And finally, what does it mean for general citizens to understand their role in this ecosystem? Because really, without the single human being, generating these amounts of data every day, giving these large language models the type of data that is necessary for them to operate at the scale and the level that they do, then I don't know how else they would go on, short of making up their own data sets to train themselves. Do we want to find ourselves in that kind of world? I pretty much think not, but we should be prepared. Thank you very much to everyone, and congratulations once again on the launch of this book. And Katie, I believe that you are up next. Thank you very much for the invitation and the time.
Congratulations, Nazarene, very thought-provoking, and Mark as well. So I think I'm up next. I'm very visual, so I have a few slides that I would like to share with you, and I'm just making my screen available now. Hopefully you're seeing that. So greetings.
Yes, we can see it, Kathy.
Excellent. So I've got about 15 minutes, which is no time at all, but it's enough just to give you a flavor of my approach to this. Greetings, first of all, from London in the UK, and congratulations to Utpal and the team on your book launch, and to the whole team and speakers who've pulled together such an excellent session so far. I've written 2 books on AI myself, so I know the amount of hard work that goes into this. The first one you can see at the bottom there on the right in 2019, and then the latest one in this past year. A little bit about me there. Please connect if you'd like to. I work on the All-Party Parliamentary Group, which is a task force looking at adopting AI across different enterprises, and work very closely with Lord Tim Clement-Jones and all of many people in the UK government there. I've just come back from my first ever visit to India last month, in Delhi on the left, and in the Taj Mahal, and in Jaipur and Ranthambore, and I'm so delighted, and I'm ready to go back quite soon, probably to the south of India. So thank you for making my stay last month so incredible. I'd waited a long time to get there, and we're prepared to rush back very quickly. So I wanted to just touch on broadly AI adoption, and then specifically on ChatGPT, generative AI. And it's all well and good to be talking about a technology that is the flavor of the month, but I think it's really important to put this in the context of the wider impact of AI on a country like India. And we're looking here about this sort of technology that's projected to add $500 billion to your GDP in the next couple of years. And just how the adoption has grown, and how, you know, you're ranking more than 3 times higher than the global average for AI skills, which is very impressive. So 68% of organizations have an ad hoc or basic AI budget. So, you know, it would be wrong to say that AI is being adopted at scale in every country, in every industry sector. It's simply not the case. But it's good to see India, you know, making really good inroads there. And what are we talking about when we think about this technology, and specifically about generative AI? This is a technology that's been around for 70 years. And why is it viable now? Because one, we have data, which we haven't had. We haven't had the amount of data that we now have from our smartphones, from the digitization that really was accelerated during the pandemic. And secondly, we have the cheap processing power. So now we have a viable technology. That means many startups, many major organizations, venture capitalists all around the world are investing in this technology. And what is it? It's really, let's demystify it, the ability, the capability of machines to imitate intelligent human behavior. That's really what we're looking at. And with generative AI, the AI is creating this new content. It's using machine learning algorithms, and it's improving really rapidly. So we're talking about a quite specific element of this technology. And what can it do? We've heard some incredible presentations already about its capabilities, but it's about content, you know, visual-based content, text-based content. It's about, for example, in government, using it for briefing documents. Probably not all governments are ready to do that yet, but it's like your own smart personal agent. In the UK, one of our ministers talked just recently about the AI bot being used in Parliament, and he used it to actually help him write his speech about the UK economy. And so we've got these outputs from generative AI that really are indistinguishable from a human being, but it's often makes mistakes. You can see on the left-hand side here what it can do when it goes wrong, you know, and how wrong it can actually be. In a simple example there with distance and miles and so on. So, you know, it's not infallible. It's not just ChatGPT we're talking about here. It's Bard and others as well. But it's incredible that in just 5 days of its release, it had reached over 1 million users. So it's doing this based on text prompts. And I think that in itself tells us that we need to know how to work with this technology. Everyone's had not everyone, but a big percentage of the world's population have had the internet for many, many years, but not everybody is not democratized, because not everybody is maybe as well educated and knows and is resourceful enough to know how to use it properly. So we need to know how to use ChatGPT and DALL-E, which is a visual equivalent of that, in order to ask it the right questions, to ask it which tone of voice to use, which quotes to source, how to make the tone credible, professional, and so on. So it's really important that we know how to use it as a professional tool for copywriting, for sales, for human resources, and so on. And certainly from a IT profession, you know, they're actually using it to generate code as well. And then in the last week, we've had Microsoft 365 introducing Copilot. And we've had some amazing articles coming out from the likes of Bill Gates and others talking about this current phase we're in with AI, you know, being the start of a really serious new industrial revolution. And it's like all of us thinking, it's like having an MBA, it's like having a real smart assistant with us across everything that we do. So Copilot will mean generative AI is in our Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Microsoft Outlook, and it's really powerful. If you get a chance, have a look at the demo of Copilot there too. So, you know, we're talking about these tools that not just in government as an industry sector, in education, in the law, in all kinds of professional services and construction, there are all these tools coming up, Murph AI, Wombo, Voice Art, that are automating a lot of what we do. So I, in my previous book, talked about the 3 Ds, the dirty, the dull, and the dangerous. And AI is really automating a lot of that for us and enabling us, democratizing. You don't need to come in with you don't need to have been in industry for 10, 20, 30 years. Someone might come in with a degree just this past weeks and be able to use the AI tools that actually, you know, can flatten the hierarchies in organizations. So I think it's game changing across the board in all different types of industries. So I'm sharing some examples here of AI, generative AI tools for video generation, for copywriting, as some of the previous speakers did as well. This is an interesting chart because this is breaking it down and saying, in generative AI, this gold rush now, who's going to profit and who's going to control it? And so at the top, you've got the infrastructure companies like NVIDIA, then you've got the foundational models, and then you've got all the different applications, some of which I've mentioned already: coding, sales and marketing, gaming, music, and then all different industry sectors that will benefit. And this will be available, you know, to everybody around the world. But what does it mean? And Nazarene touched on some of those issues, and so did Mark as well. We hear evidence on the all-party parliamentary group AI task force from all around the world, you know, regularly, monthly. And it's really important. I think what's been holding back progress, particularly, you know, I showed you there that example with the UK government, is the lack of regulation, particularly around these types of newer parts of AI, generative AI. So we saw OpenAI admitting that ChatGPT was prone to bias, particularly in prompts around US politics, and that it's prone to what it calls these hallucinations, that sometimes errors can occur. So I've included there a link, and I'm very happy to make these a PDF of these slides available to anybody who wants them, guidelines on how ChatGPT should respond when it's prompted around things like culture wars and so on. And here again, back to a UK example, civil servants being warned not to use AI chatbots yet to write policy and to carry out government work. So not ruling it out completely, but crying out for more regulation and reassurance. And when it did actually, had some bugs and made some, had some problems here, you got OpenAI, fixing them quickly, but it did breach GDPR regulations. So, we are at a stage where we need to really be considering that next phase. And again, this bit is final couple of minutes is not specifically generative AI, because this is relatively new, but governments around the world are benefiting from AI. And I've just included a few examples here of preventing cyber attacks, the listening, the social listening, all kinds of areas, speeding up HR paperwork. And, generative AI will take this to the next level. Here's a few more examples, predicting traffic congestions, car accidents, anticipating water failures. Governments around the world are starting and have been for a few years to use AI across all the different aspects of what they do. But where generative AI is really helping is in business functions that government and every other business sector can use, such as sales, marketing, HR, customer experience, which my latest book is very, very focused on, with lots and lots of case studies packed into it there. So you see our government here, governments in Canada and others handling, tedious aspects of call center work, records management and so on. Mexican government using it to classify citizen petitions. And in Africa, wildlife rangers protecting animals, but by deciding which territories they should patrol. So we've seen what I would call some really important real world issues being handled here by AI broadly at a government level. And then generative AI, ChatGPT, Bard and others are going to, add another layer on, give us that MBA, give us that assistant. For me, and I'm going to end with this point really, and Nazarene touched on it a bit, there's almost a so what factor. We need to make sure that AI is being used to crack some of the big issues. And I know the work the World Economic Forum and some of those types of organizations, very focused on the big sustainability goals and democratization of education and of medicine. And I think if we can use generative AI to support us in some of those big issues, and what I'm doing it for, and you can see my URL there for it, is a pro bono schools program. Because what we're saying here is we need to teach young people still in school all around the world, how are these types of tools and these technologies going to reshape the careers you're going to go into, because the education system is often behind. So I think it's really important. And I've gone into schools in the UK, and this year it's going to America, and in a couple of weeks' time, actually next week, to South Africa through some work I'm doing with the world travel market out there. So whatever we can do around the world to come together, to collaborate, to come up with some kind of equivalent of a UN treaty around the privacy and ethics of this technology, and to spread its word to people all around the world, particularly our young people, so that there isn't this major skills gap and so that we can all benefit from it. So that brings to an end, my presentation. I hope that was useful. And again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you all. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, our last two speakers. Thank you, Katie King and Nasreen Ibrahim, for such a beautiful presentation. If you like it, with your such a beautiful presentation, Katie. And with this, actually, you are the concluding speaker of this event today.
So thanks, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Nazreen, and thanks, Kathy, for brilliant presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making it. Yeah.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So with this, actually, we are at the main part of this event.
Yeah.
So